Welcome to Comfort Zone, a podcast all about pushing your hosts, outside of their comfort zone. Every week, I am joined by two incredible co-hosts, but this week, we might be missing one. As always, I am joined by Mr. Matt Birchler. Matt, how are you doing?
Chris, I'm doing splendid today. I'm very excited to be here and excited to speak 50% more than normal, I think, is going to be required.
Yeah, so Neeleon is still on vacation, so it's just the two of us this week. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. That is 2 weeks in a row I've subjected our listeners to my horrible singing.
People are going to start expecting it.
No, people are going to unsubscribe is what's going to happen. So I'll bleep it this week or something. But Neeleon is still on vacation. She will be back with us next week. This is not the status quo going forward, but Neeleon wanted a bit of a break. And so Matt and I are just going to do a solo episode, just the two of us. So we have some stuff. We didn't really do a poll or anything for the challenge this week, so I don't really know if anyone won. That was a really hard challenge, Matt.
Yeah, I think we just move on.
Okay, all right. I'm totally okay with that. If Neeleon wants to come back next week and tell us who won that challenge, she is more than welcome to, but I'm totally with you. I'm just like, let's just move right along. All right, so you're first up in the show, Doc, and I am kind of curious. Matt, you said you weren't going to upgrade your iPhone. What iPhone do you currently have?
Yeah, so this is the iPhone 15 Pro. However, if you look very closely, you might notice there's a new button on here. It's actually the 16 Pro. So I have upgraded my iPhone, and I think in a comfort zone first, I will be bringing a thing that someone else already brought, but I figured, hey, it's the iPhone. This happens once a year, so.
Well, and to be fair, I had less than 24 hours with the iPhone by the time we recorded last week, so I have some more thoughts on it after using it for a full week now. So I'm really glad you got this. I'm really glad you backtracked and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it, and then you got it anyways. So I'm kind of curious, what prompted the upgrade for you? Like, what was the thing that you're like, okay, all right, I'm going to bite the bullet. I got to have this.
Oh, that's a good question. So the actual answer is I'm a compulsive iPhone buyer, and I would just buy basically any iPhone if it is newer. What actually got me to, what I'll say I got me to buy it is it's not that surprising, the camera stuff.
Okay.
There were a number of camera things that were appealing to me, and yeah, it got me to go out. I traded in 2 iPhones to get it, so it wasn't that much out of pocket, but
that's nice.
Yeah,
that's always nice when you're able to do the trade-in stuff, and it's like, okay, I didn't really feel this one, and you get a shiny new device out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really confused the Apple guy because I went into the store to do 2, because if you want to do 2 trade-ins, you're going to have to do it at the same time in store. You can't do it online. And I was trading in a 15 Pro Max and a 13 Mini, and he was like, I've never seen someone radically change what size phone they use like this. And I was buying the middle-sized phone. So like all 3 of them were on the table in front of us at one point. It was the entire range of sizes.
That's awesome. I think it was the 13 Pro, the one that came in purple.
That was the 14.
14 Pro. Okay. So, when I went to go pick up my 14 Pro Max from the Apple Store, the release day, I had already had review units, and I didn't really think much of it until they started asking me a bunch of questions, like, because that was the year that they went over to eSIM, and they're like, are you going to need help with that? And I'm like, oh, no, I got this, because I'm like, in the back of my head, I already did this. And then I took my phone out of my pocket. I took the review unit phone out of my pocket. And there's Apple Store employees around me because I scheduled an appointment for like right when they opened, and that wasn't the most popular iPhone. Like I don't think a lot of people. It wasn't. Let me rephrase. The line at my Apple Store was not very long for the release of the 14 Pro line.
Interesting. Okay.
So I had it on the table, and all of a sudden, all these Apple Store employees are like, wait, is that the new one? Like, they were very, very confused. Like, how all of a sudden, because I was getting a black one, how all of a sudden I had a 14 Pro purple one just sitting on the table. And if, as you know, that is the only iPhone that's ever Pro iPhone that's ever come in purple. So it's very hard to like mistake. They were very confused how I had it, and eventually I had to fess up to who I was, and I was like, oh, I didn't want to do that. That was an awkward moment, and it was just one of those things where they're all like, oh, I'll check out your stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be like associated, like, oh, hey, we know which Apple Store you go to, so now when you walk in, it's like, I didn't want that at all. I was trying to just fly under the radar. So that was an awkward one.
This is what happens to me every time I go into the Apple Store when I'm buying something, because like you're with the person, especially when you're buying like an iPhone or a Mac, you're with them for a few minutes, like while you finish the order, they wait for it to come from the back room, so you're making small talk. And I always try to like fish like one or two little bits of info out of them, without making it weird, but just like, I'm just kind of curious. And so this time I asked, I was curious how busy they thought it was, like compared to like other years, because this guy said he'd worked here since like 2017. He'd been at the store.
Oh wow!
So quite a while. He said it was busier than last year, and it's kind of ramped up at the store. At least it's kind of ramped up every year since like COVID. Every year since then has been busier than the year before, which I thought was an interesting data point. And what else did I say? Oh, I asked about trade-ins as well, because I was doing like the double trade-in and stuff, and I was like, how many people trade in like a phone? And he said the people who come in and buy like the first weekend do the most trade-ins, because they're the people who are like on a cycle with like a pretty new phone. They're getting it early and they're trying to justify the cost. And I was like, yeah, that's what we're doing. But he said as time goes on, fewer people, as the year goes on, fewer people do trade-ins, because they're usually coming. They're not as quick to upgrade. They don't really care as much, and their phone isn't worth that much anymore. So he said basically the amount of trade-ins tapers off as we get further away from the launch, which I'd never thought about, but was interesting.
I do have one other Apple Store anecdote before we dive into the iPhone.
Sure.
When I got my Vision Pro, I went and picked it up at the Apple Store. And I was late to getting my Vision Pro. Like day one, I was not a day one buyer. I was like, I'm not going to get this. I'm not going to buy this. I'm not going to buy it. Shouldn't have bought it. Bought it, waited like, I think it was like 5 or 6 days after day one. Apple Store still had one in stock. And I bought the 1 terabyte version because I was told Final Cut was going to be there. I was told Final Cut was going to be there, and it is not. It still to this day is not. So I thought, I'm going to edit video on this thing. Like I'm going to use, this is going to be my whole workflow. Went to the Apple Store to pick it up, and I was, making small talk with them just like you did. I was like, oh, have you guys done a lot of these? Like, because like you do like the whole like setup process with them there, because they want to make sure the light shield and everything is right. And I asked him, I was like, have you done a lot of these? And they look at me and they're like, no, you're the first one.
Oh no. Week one? Really?
It was like 5 or 6 days after launch day. It was not day one. Yeah. Anyways, that if that doesn't tell you about the state of Vision Pro, I don't know what does. But yeah, I was the sucker that bought a 1 terabyte model because I thought I was going to be able to do my whole production workworkflow on it. Anyways,
maybe Final Cut will still come. We'll see.
I hope so. I haven't given up on Vision Pro. We'll talk about that a little later, but we'll see. But
okay.
Let's get back on task. You got yourself an iPhone 16 Pro, not a Pro Max, just a regular Pro, right?
Not a Pro Max.
Okay.
Just a normal Pro, yes. I have been trying. I love the normal Pro size, and it's really last year. Okay, so it's going to be all anecdotes this episode. Last year, I bought the 15 Pro because I wanted the smaller phone, and I thought the battery would be fine, and I wouldn't want the 5x camera. It turns out the battery was not fine, and there were situations where a 5x camera would have been nice. I go to a decent number of like concerts and comedy shows, and like the zoom is actually really great for those situations. And so mid-year, I upgraded to the 15 Pro Max. So this year, I still have the dream alive that I can get by on the smaller one. But this year, I'm hoping it's not just insanity of trying the same thing again. Because the battery life is supposed to be a lot better, or at least notably better. and the 5x camera is on the small one now. So in theory, I should be okay. And I will say, about a week into it at this point, I think I'm going to be okay. The 5x camera is here, so that's cool. And then the battery's actually been, it's not like a million times better than the 15 Pro, but like there's like an invisible line, whereas if my phone is over that line in terms of battery life, it's fine.
Yeah.
Whether it's way over it or just over it, it's fine. I get through the day without an issue, without stress. But if it's below the line, even like 1 minute, it's pain. And so the 15 Pro is below the line at some point. This one's been okay. I have not had battery anxiety since getting it, even like during the like first day or two where it's doing all the indexing and whatever. So early impressions are the battery is actually solid for me as a pretty heavy iPhone user.
Interesting. Yeah, I've kind of seen similar situations. I'm kind of in that weird state where like I'm officially over the week, so all the indexing stuff should be done. I shouldn't have it, but I'm filming iPhone videos right now, so the screen's on. I'm using it a lot. I'm testing things, stuff like that. So I'm still only getting to like 2 or 3 in the afternoon before I need to charge it, but I don't think that is real world situation because I'm using it so much. I have the screen on. I'm filming it. I've been filming 120 frames per second video with it and stuff like that. So I don't feel this is representative. Permission to go on a rant.
Permission granted, of course.
Thank you. There are a lot of YouTubers. I'm going to specifically call out YouTubers, but I'm sure bloggers and podcasters do this. But there are a lot of YouTubers that will use the iPhone for a day and call that their battery test. You need to use it for multiple days after the indexing is done. I said this in my iPad Pro review earlier this year. If somebody has only had the device for a week and they're telling you, hey, here is the official battery test. Here's exactly what I'm getting. Do not believe that information. You need at least a week for all the indexing to go down. And on top of that, if you're somebody that's actually doing the proper work and not just, copying and pasting other people's work, you're probably doing a lot of testing, and the battery is going to be going down quite a bit faster than normal. So I've always held off doing battery tests and making comments on battery life until like I've everything, like the dust settles a little bit. So that wasn't that much of a rant. That was more of a PSA, I think.
No, I think that's super reasonable. I not going to get into it here, but I recently did some testing to see if Safari or Chrome on the Mac uses more battery on, like, because the rumor is that Chrome just is horrendous and like will destroy your battery, and Safari just does nothing. I wanted to test it, and I thought it would just be a couple hours of testing, no big deal. I spent like 70 hours testing this, not like 70 hours like just on and off. Like I have 70 hours of battery drain data on my computer. Anyone who does one test is not nearly enough, I would say.
100%. I am somebody, whenever I do battery tests, I will do like exporting video, watching movies, just web browsing, stuff like that. And like I will make notes and I will do that stuff multiple times. But battery tests are hard to do. It is not something that can be anecdotally mentioned after like a couple days. But if you haven't seen Matt's video on the Safari and Chrome thing, it is very good. Even if you're not interested, like I don't even use a Mac, so I'm not, and I don't even own a MacBook, so like it does nothing for me. But it was still a very good video and very interesting information.
Well, thank you. Similarly, it was made after extreme frustration with existing tests that were out there. So it's good to hear it was and it's been received well, so yeah, I'm very happy about that. The other thing, so my one thing, I think the iPhone 15 Pro is an S-tier iPhone in the history of iPhones. I think it's an awesome phone in so many ways, but it's one Achilles heel for me personally. We could get into that if you want, but the one Achilles heel that did not go away after like the first week of like heavy use was the heat. The 15 Pro was the warmest iPhone. It's the only iPhone I think I've ever had that is like noticeably warm on a relatively consistent basis. And I don't know why, but it just was like the A17 Pro was not properly cooled. It was too much. It was too, I don't know what the deal was, but I'm happy to say on the 16 Pro, I've had no overheating issues, even during like the transfer from the old phone, which took like 2 hours. The 15 Pro was cooking. It was like, get it off the fabric couch because it's going to set it on fire hot. And the 16 Pro was just a cool like stone in the water. Like it was great. And I've had no like playing games, doing everything, like even shooting video. I haven't noticed it warm up yet. I haven't, maybe you have with the more intense video stuff you're doing, but I've had nothing, which is awesome. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be this much better over last year.
Yeah, no, I had the same experience. I think we talked about that last week where the 15 Pro, when doing the data transfer, it was hot. It was a thermal grenade. Like it was very hot, and the 16 Pro was just normal. It was cool. I haven't felt the 16 Pro get hot. I haven't shot like a ton of 120 frames per second video, like back to back to back to back, to where that's probably the thing. Like if you're going to try and make this thing get hot, shoot a bunch of 120 frames per second video, and that would probably make it hot. But I haven't felt it get warm at all. It's definitely been something that's kind of like in the back of my mind to make a note about it if I ever feel that, and still haven't. So I'm glad to hear you have the same experience as me.
Yeah, like the 15 Pro, I always felt like iPhones are always fast, and like the 15 Pro is very fast. But like the 15 Pro, because you could feel the heat, always felt like it was pushing the limits. Like you were always like really pushing it hard. And this one is just, it feels more casual, if that makes sense. Like because it's not breaking a sweat. So like whatever, do whatever you want. So I'm very happy about that little thing. It's not a reason to upgrade, of course. But
no, but it is a very nice touch.
It's definitely a nice thing. Yeah. Do we want to talk about the camera control?
Yes, but before we do that, I do want to mention something about the size of the iPhones, because I've been using the 16 Pro.
Yeah.
I use the 15 Pro too. I use the 15 Pro. I haven't been on the Pro Max since the 14 line, and I really miss the Pro Max. I am having such a hard time typing on this one. Like it's too cramped for me in my big hands. Apple also sent me the 16 Plus. And I've been kind of using these side by side. My SIM is on the 16 Pro, but I've been using these side by side for different things because I work from home, so I'm always connected to Wi-Fi, so it doesn't really matter. It is so much nicer typing on the bigger screen. So much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I got there. I think I will probably go get a 16 Pro Max at some point, because that's the best of both worlds. It gives me all the fancy camera stuff, and it gives me the bigger screen size. Plus, it has the best battery of any iPhone ever, which that definitely excites me.
Yes. Yeah. Most days, because I work from home as well, it's not a huge deal, but every once in a while I'll be on vacation or I'll be on a trip of some sort, and you're not at home and you're not in your normal environment, and like you're using a lot of GPS and Uber and those sorts of things, and it's nice to have headroom on those days with the big ones. So I'm going to New York in a month. Pray for me that this one is okay.
Get a battery pack. Get a MagSafe battery pack.
Yeah, I might. Okay, camera control.
Okay.
So I've had it for about a week. You've had it for a few days more than me. So I know you were just getting to terms with it last time we talked. Okay, I'm going to start with a couple statements, and then we'll get into the details, because I feel like it's important to know where I landed before we get into it. I am happy it's here. Mm-hmm. I would prefer to have this on my iPhone than to not have it. If the 17 came and they got rid of it, I would be upset about that. I would not want it to go away. So on the whole, happy it's here. I think for launching the camera and for snapping photos, it's very nice. I think for freeing up my action button to do something else is quite liberating and just makes my iPhone more customizable and more able to be tuned to my needs. I think that's good. I do not like or even understand to an extent how I'm supposed to use the other controls in here, though. It's so confusing and so fiddly. I was at work yesterday, and a friend is there, a work friend is there, who is an Android guy. He's a Pixel guy, but he's always interested in like new tech and the new Apple stuff. And so I showed him the new phone, and he's like, they've got like that camera button, right? And like I was trying to describe to him how you soft press on it. I was like, it's not a tap and it's not a push. It's a soft press. And he's like, what do you mean a soft press? And then I was like, okay, to change modes, you need to double soft press. And at that point, he was just like, take the phone back. I don't understand what this is. And I totally get it. I think it's very slow and cumbersome to do things with this. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll get more used to it, but I really, for my use case, don't really dig it. It's another option. If it works for you, that's awesome. But like for me, it's not clicking so far.
Yeah. If you go into accessibility, you can actually change how the press works. So you can change it to where you can be slower at it. And that helped me a lot with that, because the default feature requires you to press it like really quickly in succession. And my finger just couldn't do that. Even with the amount of video games I played in my life, I just could not get the timing just right. So going into it's like accessibility, and then there's like a camera control, or it's camera or something like that. But you can change how quickly you do that. And you can also change how firm of a press it needs to be. And that helped me quite a bit to wrap my head around. But I will completely agree with you. It is very finicky. It is very hard to wrap your head around, like get it just right. And even once you get the option and like you figure out, okay, here's how you double press this to bring up the controls, sliding on it is very sensitive as well. It's definitely something Apple is going to need to tweak. But I will say, after my review is done, if Apple doesn't tweak it, in 18.2 or whatever, I will probably just turn those features off and just use it to launch the camera app and take a photo and then do everything else on screen. Because too many times I'm accidentally pressing something on there and it's changing a lens, or it's changing the zoom to like 1.5 or something like that. So you're like getting this cropped image that doesn't look great. So too many, it's too finicky for that. And I'm kind of surprised they shipped that the way it is and didn't say that was just coming later, and right now it just launches the camera app and you can take a photo. Because I think for most people, that's all they want, is a way to quickly launch the camera and quickly take a photo.
For sure. And so the other thing that's kind of weird about it for me is, in a weird way, the action button's actually in a more natural spot for me to like use as a camera shutter. So if you're watching on video, this will make more sense. But like, if I'm holding my phone for a photo, like the action button is right where my left thumb is on the bottom. That's where my thumb naturally goes anyway. But like to reach the camera control, I have to kind of claw my hand over to get to the button, because it's kind of far over from the bottom of the phone. So like I feel like it's a little less natural to me. So it's fine. It's not the end of the world, but I'm actually kind of conflicted where like I like it as an option for launching the camera. But like once I actually get my phone out to take a photo in landscape, at least, I'm like naturally using the action button because it's just more convenient for me, which is kind of a weird thing. Maybe just me, maybe literally I'm the only person in the world who's like this, but like, yeah, it's a little too far away from the kind of corner of the phone where like a normal camera would have it. It's just making me reach a little bit.
Well, that was something I mentioned last week, is that I thought it was a little too high up, even for my big hands, and I still stand by that. Like, they need to bring it down. Like, if I put my finger on the camera control button, it goes to, like, the halfway spot. So, like, sliding it and stuff like that, it doesn't, I really have to reach my finger. What I have found is, open the camera with the camera control button, open the camera app, but then I still... maybe it's just by habit, still use the volume up button to take a photo.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that works too.
I've done that. I that's been on the iPhone for, a decade or more?
Forever, basically,
so that's just like a habit of me to use that. So like I will hit the camera control button, open the camera, and then my left thumb naturally goes to the volume up button, and I just use that to take a photo.
Interesting. Yeah. I will say I do like it for portrait photos. So if I'm just like taking it out of my pocket to take a portrait photo,
Yeah.
it is actually a really great spot for that.
Yes.
So I don't know. What do you think about it being flush with the side of the phone?
I think it's very interesting. I don't use a case, so I don't care so much that it kind of ruins a lot of people's favorite cases. I feel bad for the people, but I don't use a case, so it doesn't bother me either way. My girlfriend she actually got the 16 Pro Max, and she bought just a generic Amazon case from a brand I don't like, so I'm not gonna mention them. The case she got has like the cutout, and it is very hard to get to the camera control button with a cutout in the case. Like Apple's cases, I did put on, so Apple sent me the review units. They did send me the silicone case, and I did put it on, and with like their sapphire button pushy thingamajigger on the case, it works really nice, but cutouts on the case, it does not work well. And I kind of wonder if Apple did that on purpose to kind of maybe give them a leg up. I don't know. That seems a little too conspiracy theory, because also to keep in mind, you're also, it has the haptic stuff, or not the haptic, but it has like the sensor in it to feel like the press, plus you can slide on it. So I think it makes sense for it to be flush. I think I just went a little too conspiracy theory, and I'm pulling myself back.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some third-party cases already like either announce or actually maybe are shipping ones that have like a similar sort of thing on it.
You're going to have to.
Yeah. Is on the Apple cases, is the kind of the button on the case raised, or is it flush with the case as well?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
When I say I don't use cases, I really mean I don't use cases. Okay, so I have the silicone case right here. It is flush. It's flush. In fact, it's actually a little indented. It's not sticking out. It's a little indented, but you can still very easily interact with it, and you can slide your finger across it to get to the other controls and things like that. But it's not even flush, it's indented. Like you can actually, like, if you weren't looking, you could be like, okay, yep, that's the camera control button right there, just by feel.
Okay, gotcha. So I think that's probably it for my impressions right now. I guess I would say it is better in every way than the 15 Pro, in my opinion. And that's kind of just where we are with phones these days. I mean, it's been at least a decade since it didn't make sense to buy a new phone every year. Unless you are a crazy person who just enjoys the stuff a lot. And so, I mean, it's better battery, less heat, and the new camera stuff, while I don't like it all, it's all additive to what was already there. So I didn't lose anything. It's all just a little better. And it's, if you have a 15 Pro, it's maybe not a rush out and get it thing, but like I think it is definitely better than the phone that came before it. Not a super high bar that we would expect that, but like I think it is a solid upgrade to the phone. And we'll see what they do next year with their super slim or whatever. But I think it's a very, very solid phone. If it's your year, if you're like in the market for an iPhone this year, I think it's a really good one.
Yep, I completely agree with that.
Sweet. So you have something very interesting to me.
Okay. And
I am actually, after we finish recording, I'm off to the Apple store to buy a case, because I didn't get a case for this for reasons. And I hope I only leave the store with a case, but I'm worried you're going to do the thing you always do.
Challenge
get me
accepted.
To buy new things.
All right. So this week I have for you guys the AirPods 4. Now, I actually, again, review units, so I have both the version with ANC, active noise canceling, and I have the version without them. The ones in my hand are the ones with active noise canceling. There are a few differences between the ones with active noise canceling and the one without, specifically related to the case. So the one with active noise canceling supports wireless charging. It has Qi charging. You could put it on a MagSafe charger and it will technically charge. It will do the thing with the Apple Watch charger as well that the AirPods Pro 2 did, and it will magnetically attach to it. But going back to the MagSafe chargers, because the case is so much smaller, it doesn't actually hook onto the magnets. So if you're looking for a magnetic charger for this, you actually have to use the Apple Watch charger and not a MagSafe puck charger. The other thing that the active noise canceling ones have that the regular ones don't is it has the speakers on the case. So if you want to use Find My, you want to get the one with active noise canceling. Suffice to say, I think the active noise canceling, while I think they're $50 more, it's the one that makes more sense to go with. But I kind of want to run through those are basically the two differences between the two versions. Everything else is pretty much the same across the board, so I just keep that in mind. Sound-wise, they're fine. They're just like every other earbuds. They get the job done. You can hear things. You can listen to podcasts. You can play music. They're Incredible. Not amazing. They're not, Apple touts that they're, it goes off on the sound quality. They're earbuds. They're fine because, they're so small. The drivers are so small. They're not going to sound as good as AirPods Max, which is what I'm wearing right now, or like the Sony headphones that you're wearing, Matt. Like they're fine. They get the job done. But the version with ANC, so the ones with active noise canceling, even Apple says the noise canceling isn't as good as the AirPods Pro 2. And I went into like using these knowing that it's not going to be as good as AirPods Pro 2 and definitely not as good as AirPods Max.
Mm-hmm. This is my big question because after the event, I was like, okay, well, what do they mean noise canceling? And so the way they describe it on their site is these have noise cancellation.
Yeah.
The AirPods Pro 2 have 2x noise cancellation, so double the noise cancellation. And then I was interested, well, what about the first AirPods Pro? Those they advertise as having noise cancellation. So if you go to the comparison chart, the AirPods 1 and the AirPods 4 with noise cancellation show as the same. So I'm wondering if it's in the ballpark of what you remember the original AirPods Pro to be.
It's been so long since I used the original AirPods Pro, I wouldn't want to comment on that.
Okay.
But
Fair.
What I can tell you is, anecdotally, that, I'm sitting here in my studio and I'm working. There's a dog across the street that barks almost all day long. I feel so bad for the dog because, anyways, they leave him outside. It's not cool, whatever. But it blocks out the dog barking. I can't hear the dog barking, which I absolutely can if I'm not wearing headphones or if I'm wearing headphones that don't have noise canceling. Like if I turn noise canceling off of my headphones, I absolutely can hear the dog bark. If somebody is in the other room talking on the phone or watching TV or something like that, I wouldn't be able to hear them while I'm in my studio. But if I am sitting on the couch and I have noise canceling on and my girlfriend is sitting next to me and she starts talking to me, her talking does bleed in. So it doesn't block out everything. But it does a great job at like blocking out the kitchen vent fan when I'm cooking. We have a gas stove, so you want to turn on the vent fan while you're doing that because you don't want to choke yourself out. So it does block out like the vent fan while I'm cooking, or if a car is driving up the street, or something like that, or the garbage truck comes, or the gardener comes and is mowing the lawn. It does a great job at blocking the environmental noise out. But like if somebody is standing next to you and talking to you, it does kind of bleed through. The other thing is like my girlfriend was watching TV while I was working on my iPad, and I turned on noise canceling, and the TV kind of bled through to the point where I could still kind of hear it, which is not something I would have with AirPods Pro 2 or AirPods Max. So to me, these work great in like, hey, I'm sitting in my office and I just want to block out the environment. Perfect. But I would not take these on a flight. I would not take these on, coffee shop work, whatever you want to define that as. Like, I'm going out into public and I'm sitting down at a place and there's going to be people around me. There's going to be people talking and stuff like that. These are not what I would use those for. I would still go to AirPods Pro 2 or maybe AirPods Max for that as well. Though I don't like to travel with these because they're just so big and heavy.
Same. Yeah. Last year, I stopped packing over-ear headphones for travel. I used to bring these. I brought the AirPods Max and I had those. But I just bring the AirPods Pro 2 now, and they're great on a plane. Like sometimes like the first time I used them actually on a plane, I like had to like turn off the noise canceling once or twice because I was like, is the plane's okay? Like I couldn't even hear the engine, like
Yeah.
which was a weird feeling, but yeah, so like they do great there. That's like the main time I really want noise cancellation. So yeah, if you don't think these are enough for that sort of scenario, and like mowing the lawn is another one for me. That's a great use case.
If you are the person actually behind the lawnmower, I don't think these are going to be enough.
Okay.
Unless your lawnmower is like one of those electric lawnmowers or something
is.
like that. Oh, then it might be okay. If it was a gas lawnmower, then I would be like, probably not. But an electric lawnmower would probably be fine. But just like you, I actually, a little anecdote, when I went to New York earlier this year for the iPad event, that was also the first time I did not pack big over-the-ear noise-canceling headphones. I just went with the AirPods Pro 2 because I was there. I was only supposed to be there for 1 night, 2 days, 1 night. Ended up being 2 nights and 3 days. Thank you, America. Or what? No, where did I fly? United. Thank you, United, for having crappy planes. Long story. But I was packing light. I literally just brought a backpack, and I was like, every inch of space matters. So nice. I just brought the AirPods Pro 2, and I honestly think I'm good enough just to fly with those. Like AirPods Pro 2 to me are the all-around headphones. Like they're like, if you just want one set of headphones to cover all of your needs, from like commuting to flying to sitting in your office to going out for a run or something like that, they're perfect for that because you have noise canceling, but you also have transparency. And I've actually gone back to trying the adaptive audio mode, and it's not terrible. Actually, perfect example. If you try the adaptive audio mode in AirPods Pro 2, it's not as strong of a noise canceling as just the pure noise canceling mode. It's very similar to what the noise canceling is in AirPods Pro 4 with ANC. So like if you kind of want to get that good level, turn on adaptive and you can kind of see how similar they are. But here's where I fall in love with these. They are so comfortable to wear for a very long period of time. AirPods Pro 2, I kind of just accepted it because they were such great headphones but after a couple of hours, my ears would start to hurt just because like they fit in my ears just fine, but I need the large tips in order to get the big, to get noise canceling because I have big ears and whatever. But the AirPods Pro 4, because they don't have those tips, the other day I literally had them in my head from 8 a.m. till a little bit after noon. Never took them out, just had music and podcasts playing in the background, and they felt great. I never felt uncomfortable or anything like that. And this is why that is exactly why these have become my like working around the house headphones. They are so comfortable to wear for a long period of time, where I do have a little bit of issues with AirPods Pro 2. I'm curious, do you have that similar issue with AirPods Pro?
Chris, we're the same person in this regard.
Yes. Okay.
This was why I was interested in these, because I have AirPods Pro 2. They're better, right? They're better in every spec sheet thing, right?
Yes.
But I find normal AirPods more comfortable in my ears for longer times.
Yes.
The tips, the tips eventually like work their way out of my ears. Like they'll slowly, especially if I've been wearing them for a long time, I'll always have to like readjust them to like kind of wedge them back in there. And I just enjoy wearing normal AirPods more. And the noise cancellation thing was the one thing I was really curious about, because like I said, AirPods Pro 2 work everywhere for me. I work in the office, work on traveling, whatever. And so yeah, so I would love to switch, but I'm anxious right now.
I am in such a conundrum about the same thing. If noise cancellation was just a little bit better, these would be my 100% always go-to headphones. These have been the only headphones I've been using for the last week, except for one other thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I love everything about these because I love the fact that they're just so much more comfortable. I can wear them for a long period of time without having to take them out or adjust them or anything like that. They just sit in my ears and they sit perfectly. They don't fall out. They're perfect for that. But the noise canceling just isn't quite there. but they are perfect for sitting in my studio and getting work done, or sitting on the couch and getting work done. And that's why they've kind of been what I'm calling my work/productivity headphones, which is the dumbest thing I could probably think of. But they just work so well for like, hey, I need to sit down and bang out this long script or get this video edited or something like that. And they work perfect for that. I don't notice any latency even when editing video on my iPad. Zero latency issues. So they work great for that. But the one thing I will say about the case being smaller, because the case is dramatically smaller. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the very first AirPods, where it was kind of like the like almost like Tic Tac box. It's not quite that tall, and it's a little wider, but it's definitely not as wide as the AirPods Pro 2 case. But the issue with that is I have such a hard time getting the AirPods out because of my big hands. I'm like kind of like clawing at it a little bit, and a few times I've dropped them and stuff like that. I think that's more of a me thing and my big hands, but they are a little difficult to get out, whereas AirPods Pro 2, I can just take them out really easily, and they're nice. But I love these AirPods. They work so great. I just wish the noise canceling was slightly better, because then they would absolutely destroy. But I think unless you're in a situation where you fly a lot, or like you're in noisy environments, these are probably the go-to AirPods for most people, especially if you have comfortability. Like if you have issues with AirPods Pro 2 being comfortable for a long period of time, these are going to be the headphones to go for, hands down. And, it's a little cheaper, which is always nice. But
always nice.
If you're looking at the range of AirPods and you're looking at either AirPods 4 or AirPods 4 with ANC, I would still go with the ANC, just because you get the wireless charging, you get the Find My speaker, and you do get noise canceling. And the noise canceling isn't bad. It's not bad by any means. It just, even Apple says, like, it's going to let more noise in than AirPods Pro 2 or AirPods Max.
Okay. Well, we'll see what I do at the store later.
I
shouldn't buy one.
You should buy them and try them out, and then take advantage of the return policy if you don't like them. But try. I think with what you said about like having issues with AirPods Pro 2 being comfortable for a long period of time for you, I think you'll love these. I actually think you will love these, and your AirPods Pro 2 will become like the AirPods you just leave in your backpack when you go on flights and stuff like that. I mean,
we'll see.
I legitimately do love these. I am going to keep using these. And when I have to send back my review unit stuff, I will probably go buy a pair of these.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
All right. Well, anything else before we move on?
No. Is this the part of the episode where we break the rules of comfort zone?
Yeah.
We go off the rails?
We're gonna, yeah, exactly. We're gonna go off the rails a bit this week. So last week I did issue a challenge to do some iPhone photography, but we're gonna put that on hold for a week, because Matt and I realized it's just the two of us, and we can make it if we try. Okay, sorry. You really should be watching the video version of this, because I'm just gonna leave it at that. But Matt and I, if you've ever followed us on Mastodon or even back in the day of Twitter and stuff like that, you will know we are very opinionated when it comes to movies. And our opinions are complete opposite.
Rarely the same.
Matt doesn't even like Aliens, which is a terrific movie that is a gold standard for action, 80s action movie. It's perfect.
It's a good movie.
But we figured we would take this opportunity, and we've threatened for a while that we would do a movie podcast, and we just don't have the time. That a movie podcast, not only are you recording the podcast and editing it, but you also have to watch a movie every week. So that's a lot to take on. So we thought we would take this opportunity to make a backdoor pilot for our movie podcast, if we will. And we're going to start with what Matt called Movie Corner. And then we're going to go into something else. So, Matt, you want to take the reins for this? I added a couple of things in here. I don't know if you want to do those, but I thought they might be fun.
I like them a lot. So,
okay.
The idea of Movie Corner is we're going to just suss out what each of us likes about movies, what sort of films we like. The audience can choose which one of us is more correct. And no,
Me.
sorry, it's not all competition. It's not all competition.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Don't listen to him. It is a competition.
But some questions I thought would be fun to kind of get us to make some movie recommendations maybe that other people could enjoy this weekend. And then we're going to get into, we watched the same movie this week and we're going to kind of review it together and see what we thought. I'm sure it'll be the same. So the first movie category I was thinking of is, do you have a most rewatched movie? Because I definitely do.
Yes, but it's not one. It is the original Star Wars trilogy, which probably isn't going to surprise anyone. But when I was a kid, I had VHS copies of them. And over the years, I actually wore out the VHS copies because I watched them so much. And luckily, like right as they were getting worn out to the point where like you can't watch them, like it's just not the DVD versions dropped. So I got kind of lucky there. But like literally the VHS copies got worn out. But yeah, I would say those are definitely my most rewatched movies. And you just can't watch one of them. You got to watch all three of them.
You kind of have to make it a project. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always kind of my thing. I always usually watch all the Star Wars movies, and by that I just mean I'll give the prequels. I'll throw the prequels in there, but usually on my birthday, which is the next couple of days, I always watch like over that time period. I always watch the original 6 Star Wars movies.
Nice, love it. For me, it's Hot Fuzz. So
okay, that's a good one.
It is an unbelievable joy, and by some metrics, might be my favorite movie ever. It's the most fun I have watching a movie. I always laugh at it, even all these years later. It is, and my wife loves it too, which is always convenient when your significant other enjoys a movie a lot. It is so funny. It's a send up of like buddy cop movies, but it is also a very great buddy cop movie. It's from, again, stars Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. Why am I blanking on his name?
Yeah. Nick Frost.
But yeah, it's from the trilogy of the Cornetto trilogy with Shaun of the Dead, this, and The World's End, which is a great trilogy. And yeah, this one is just the most fun of them all in a small British town where a big city cop is demoted and has to go hunt swans, basically, or deal with swan crimes, which is, I'm not making up, is a real thing in the movie. Okay, excellent.
I love it.
So the other one I was curious of, and this is, I'm now worried it's going to be the same exact answer. What's your favorite franchise? And by franchise, I mean at least 4 movies. 3 is too easy. There's too many trilogies. It's got to have at least 4 movies. So an extended series.
Okay, I obviously the answer is Star Wars, but I'm going to give you another option here because I don't want to say the same thing over and over again. I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but the Hobbit movies they're not the greatest. So you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say 007. 007.
Okay.
I can sit down and binge watch a bunch of 007 movies. Doesn't matter the era. I like them all. I can, even the Pierce Brosnan ones that are a little over the top. I can watch them all.
Do you have a favorite Bond?
That's a tough one. I mean, Daniel Craig is Daniel Craig killed it. Sean Connery being the original is really good. I think I know it's he's the more recent one, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Daniel Craig. I think he just killed it in every way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think he'll go down generally agreed upon as one of the better ones for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was a hard one for me as well. I think my real answer is also Star Wars, despite not liking numerous movies in the franchise to a considerable degree.
Yeah,
I dislike them.
Looking at you, sequel trilogy.
Parts of anyway.
And somehow he returned.
Yeah, it's not a great line. But outside of Star Wars, One that I surprisingly love and came to mind, the 4-movie requirement was a tough one, because like
Yeah.
a lot of movies, great trilogies out there, and then I watched like the Jurassic Park series, including the Jurassic World movies. And it's just it's just an unending. Every time you think you're as bad as they can go, they get worse the next one.
It is literally a straight down line
of quality.
Like a straight down. It is.
It's terrible.
It's not like Star Wars where like it can go high, low, low. Yeah.
It's tough. But so the one that came to mind that I think is held on to its quality is Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are great.
I don't know if any of those are individually like my favorite movie of the year or anything, but like they're just super consistent, and I will go to every single one because I think they're just awesome. I love them.
Yeah, no, they're a great time. They're a fun movie. Like they're not over the top. Like they're
over the top, but they're
not like over the top too serious about it being over the top, and like it's just a fun movie. It's not trying to be anything more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think they're great. It's a movie that like makes you feel smart easily, or like we actually both put in a question here that's very similar, and I think this might be a good one to end on before we get to the movie. I put in favorite movie that a lot of people don't like, and you put favorite movie you are ashamed to admit. Those are similar. So I have a soft theory, or a theory that I believe with some conviction, that there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure movie. I think if you enjoyed the movie, you should just say you enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
It just really bothers me when people are like, I know it's a bad movie, but like I really liked it. Then it was a good movie. Just say it was a good movie. It's my pet peeve.
I totally get that. Yeah. I have one that some people absolutely love this movie, and other people are just like, it's okay. But like, if you love this movie, you will defend this movie with your dying breath. And it is The Nice Guys. It is a movie with Ryan Gosling and Gladiator. Russell Crowe. Yeah, and it's just they're like private investigators, and it's just a mystery movie. It's just a fun time, and I love that movie. It's not like the most maligned movie of all time, but either people hate it or they love it, and I fall into the camp of absolutely loving that movie. The other one that I will throw in that I don't think most people would think that I would absolutely love, When Harry Met Sally. I love that movie. I'm down for a good time.
Nice.
Like, you know what? It's a good movie. But Nice Guys is kind of my pick for that.
That's a good one. Okay. Shoot, I had an answer and I forgot it. So a classic one, I think, although people have warmed on it in time, is Speed Racer from the Wachowskis.
Oh, I hated that movie.
Oh, I adore that movie. It is so, so good. And so, like, I rewatched it a year or two ago, and it's still, like, it's very unique. Mm. It's very unique in how it's shot and how the storytelling is done. Like, I can see, it's one of those movies where I can see why someone would hate every moment of it. But I'm just having a blast the whole time. I love it. I think it's great. The other one is more of a niche one and more recent, but it's Michael Bay's Ambulance from like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Which I love this movie. It is a rip-roaring good time.
You know what? I will throw in the Transformer movies. They are not good movies at all. Story-wise, they're not good. They're terrible, terrible plots. But you know what? Watching a bunch of CGI robots go at each other, it's the same thing with like the Godzilla movies and the Kong movies and the Godzilla and Kong movies. Just seeing a bunch of CGI monsters go at each other, destroying buildings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Totally down. Great time. They're what I call turn off your brain movies. They don't require you to think. There is no Michael Bay movie in all of history that requires you to think. No Godzilla movie, no Kong movie that requires you to think. It's just you can sit back and just enjoy it and see some things get blown up.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, the movies aren't good in my opinion.
No, the movies are, I don't think the movies are good at all. Like they're horrible movies. But you know what? If you have had a stressful day and you just want to watch some robots or monsters go at each other, they're great.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, should we get into our review of... Have we said the movie yet? I don't think we've even said the movie
I don't
yet.
think we have. I was kind of playing it up, but Matt and I have a very similar love for Formula One. We love Formula One. I love race cars. I love fast cars. My car that I bought last year, Mustang GT, full-on V8 engine. I love the sound of a V8 engine in the morning. Whew. That's also a movie reference right there. But
I love the sound of an eco mode all times of day.
my girlfriend has one of those, and it pains me every time I have to drive it. Look, I will fully admit, the most problematic thing about me is you will have to peel my V8 engine out of my cold, dead hands one of these days. But I love that car. I love my car so much. But we love Formula One, and there was a movie that came out about a year ago?
Last year, yeah.
Last year.
Yep.
And I've been meaning to watch it. I just haven't had time. And I think, Matt, you said you've been meaning to watch it. But we watched the movie Ferrari. Ferrari is a big, big player in Formula One. In fact, probably one of the biggest reasons Formula One even exists. And this was the story of Enzo Ferrari in a very specific time period where, like, the Ferrari franchise is kind of teetering on the edge. And first off, Matt, what did you think of the movie?
It is a movie that I think got better the further into it you get.
Okay, yeah.
I thought it was very slow and wasn't giving me enough to care about the characters, to care about all the character stuff early in the movie. And then as it builds up, eventually we get to a place where I was more invested in the characters, and then no spoilers yet, but there's a moment where it's like, oh, if this was in Act 1 and we dealt with this after, like, for the rest of the movie, I would have been more into it. But I think it was a decent movie. I liked it, but I didn't love it. Kind of where I landed.
I really love the movie. I'm curious. Ooh. Have you seen Michael Mann movies before? Like, are you familiar with his filmography, like Heat?
Yes. Yeah, I've seen Heat, Collateral. What else am I thinking of? I'm not sure.
I know. I'm trying to think of his movies.
Public Enemies. Yeah, I've seen quite a few of his films.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I like him in general, but I'm not an obsessive.
Okay. I would say I fall into a similar camp. I enjoy Heat. I enjoy Collateral. I am not obsessive, but if he puts out a movie, I will go and see it. Like, I'm excited. I think his next movie is Heat 2, and I am excited for that.
Yeah.
So overall, I say we just fire off the spoiler horn. Like, if you haven't seen Ferrari, pause it, go watch it. If you care, if not, keep listening.
We'll see you next week. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No. Keep listening to the end. We'll be entertaining, I promise. But no, I really enjoyed this movie. I was very surprised when they originally announced this that Adam Driver was going to play Enzo Ferrari, and it's not like young Enzo Ferrari. It's older Enzo Ferrari, but they did a great job at aging him up. Mm-hmm. Like, especially with hiking the pants up to his waist. I mean, that automatically ages you up.
Yeah, the suspenders and everything.
Yeah.
No, he looked great, and like the time, everyone in the movie looked great. And I think the cinematography and like costume design and like all the production parts of this movie are really great. I think it looks of the time. It looks beautiful in every moment. And
the car stuff,
yeah,
stunning. Oh,
the
my
car.
Gosh.
Those were the things that like kept me going early, when they would have these little like interludes into races where they had like the camera mounted on the car, and you're like going through, and you're sitting next to this guy who's got no seatbelt on and
in a polo shirt. Like,
shirt.
You and I are very familiar with modern Formula One, to the point where we know that they have to wear fireproof underwear, and this dude is just driving a Ferrari Like this is like the very first Formula One cars, like right at the beginning. Are you talking about the when they're doing the test track at the old Monza track, which is, I believe, considered one of the deadliest tracks in all of motorsports? Like, it's claimed the most amount of lives.
There was a banked, like, very long banked curve that apparently if you like slipped and like you would just launch yourself into.
Yeah, and that's what happened with this guy is he launched himself, and that was very wow. But it was, so I watched this on Vision Pro. This is the first movie I've watched in a long time on Vision Pro, because usually when I watch a movie, I sit down with my girlfriend and we watch it together. But her mom is staying with us right now, and so they were off doing something else. And I was like, well, I'll just go in the bedroom, throw on Vision Pro, and watch it that way. Holy crap, was that the right move? Like, it was, the car scenes were amazing in Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning. Like I've watched, there's a couple of what was the street circuit earlier this year? I can't remember, but in Formula One, I watched Formula One qualifying on Vision Pro earlier this year, and it felt like you were doing a trench run in an X-Wing. Like, it was wild. It felt so cool. So that was definitely the right move, and that probably helped me enjoy the movie even more, because I'm like, I want to go fast. I like going fast. I like driving cars fast. Let's go. And overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Now, what I found fascinating, and like the two movies are not connected in any way other than like their timelines and it being kind of more historical, but this movie kind of takes place right before Ford versus Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they kind of bleed into each other. Have you seen that movie, Matt?
I have. I really like that one.
That one's really a really good movie. Also because it has Ford in it and, Mustang. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a very good movie. I think it's funny that we both kind of come in different spectrums, but not like polar opposite, like some movies where you're like, oh, this is a horrible movie. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That never happens.
All the time. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I have too much to say on it. I just was like, I was really surprised, or not really surprised. I really enjoyed watching in Vision Pro. This is the only time in the last week that I grabbed the AirPods Pro 2 instead of the AirPods 4, because I wanted that extra noise canceling, because my girlfriend and her mom were in the other room, and I was like, I just want to be immersed in this movie. I threw on like full-on environments. I was just immersed in the movie, nothing else going on around me. And as somebody with ADHD, that was like that was the perfect situation to watch this in, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a race car fan, like, I still think it's an interesting story.
Oh, yeah. The race, I mean, if you're a fan of racing, that's a bonus, but it's definitely more about the people and Enzo Ferrari's obsession with building the Ferrari company and being the fastest car and everything.
That's like that moment in the movie where he's taking a photo with one of his drivers and his driver's girlfriend, and the driver's girlfriend is covering up the Ferrari logo. So he reaches his arm around her and literally pulls her closer to him, so that way she's not covering the Ferrari logo, because he cares way more about that than anything else.
Mm-hmm. The two moments in this movie that I think I'll remember like years from now are, there's a scene early on where they're doing like some testing, but it is like on a Sunday morning or something. Mm-hmm. And so numerous people like from Ferrari are in church, and they all have their stopwatches with them. And at the track, there's like someone who like fires a gun when the lap starts, and everybody in the church like just slyly like starts their stopwatch. And then they fire the gun a few minutes later when the lap is done, and they hit it again. And they're all just kind of looking at each other like, pretty good. I like that.
Well, and because that was Maserati beating Ferrari's lap time at the old Monza track. And nowadays, like, Monza, for those that aren't into racing, Monza is a racetrack. There's an old one and there's a new one. but Monza is the home to Ferrari. It is down the road from Ferrari. That is Ferrari's home. That would be like going into sports team stadium and wearing another person's, like wearing their rival team's jersey. Sorry, I don't know enough about sports to put something in there.
That's a very good reference.
Yeah, but like you don't show up to Monza in anything but Ferrari gear, and you and I will probably both end up being Ferrari fans next year, right?
Yep. For reasons that will become clear, I think, in the last part of the episode.
Yep.
The other thing that really, I mean, I will never forget this is, I mean, the crash. That
yeah.
is
Which
kind of the.
Is that like the I vaguely have heard something about this crash, but I believe it is the single most deadly racing crash in all of history.
It very well might be. I didn't do a ton of research on like I know it is a real incident that happened.
Yes.
But like it was shocking like, to see on screen, and like just incredibly sad. I was listening to another review of this movie after I'd watched it because I wanted to get some I wanted to think about it more. And they were saying that because there's the kid who like runs out of the house right before that. It's like you go into this house and the kid runs out and the dad runs out to get him. But then his brother actually did get out there and was killed by the car. And
well, let's explain the crash for people that didn't see the movie. So there's basically this I don't even know what it was in the center of the road, but it had like this sharp piece.
It was like one of those like reflectors, but like with the plastic part had like been just pulled up a little bit, so it was a pointy thing.
And it got stuck in one of the Ferrari car's tires, which exploded the tire. Now, when you're doing 100 to 200 miles an hour, somewhere in that range, and your tire explodes, that's going to send your car off. And it actually sent the car up and hit I believe it was probably a telephone pole at the time of this, or electricity pole or whatever, hit that, bounced off of that. And they were racing past this small village in Italy, and there is probably a dozen people lined up, maybe more. And it ended up, but it ended up at the movie, they say it ended up killing 9 people, and 5 of which were children. And what Matt was saying, one of which was a brother to one of the smaller kids that the dad actually ended up pulling aside just in time. But yeah, it was very sad. It was shocking. That part was I didn't realize that this movie would cover that. I had heard of this crash. I didn't know what race it was a part of or anything like that, but I had heard of this, and I knew it was just this deadly crash in Italy that Ferrari was kind of responsible for. But because Ferrari is such an Italian company, they kind of got away with like no accountability or anything like that, because it was kind of on Ferrari because the tires were bald, but even still, like that reflector really probably could have just taken out any tire. So yeah.
It was shocking in a way that I'm not. I watch a lot of movies. You said watching a movie every week would be a lot of work. I watch like 2 movies a week. So I watch a lot of stuff. I see a lot of things that are meant to be shocking, but this one was particularly tough to watch.
Yeah, and this one in particular, like they didn't cut away. They showed it. And I think it was to really hammer home the point of like safety and a big part of that. Because I believe I need to look. I should have looked all this stuff up, but I believe this is a big reason why like the Formula One got structured the way it is, and like motor racing got structured the way it is, and stuff like that, and like safety is such a big thing, because like where this happened, there was no railings, there was nothing. Like literally, these people were just standing a couple feet off the side of the road, like, and next to cars that were going probably 150 miles an hour, something like that.
For sure. Yeah. Even if you go back and watch like Formula One, like races from like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you'll see like at the checkered flag, the guy with the checkered flag is like on the track, like as the cars go by, and is like feet away from them. And it's like, oh God.
Well, that's like the time that Michael Schumacher won one of his world championship titles. Like people were already rushing the track as the race was going. And it's like, motor racing, for as crazy and as deadly as it can be, did not have very high safety standards when getting started. And like that's something like a point that something I will always remember is when Enzo Ferrari is sitting down with his drivers and he's telling them basically like because he was getting mad at one of the drivers because he braked before the Maserati guy and the Maserati guy overtook him. And he's like, no, you don't do that. You're a race car driver. You don't brake first. He brakes first, or neither of you brake and you both die. And he was just like that. We accept that as like, and I was like, oh dang, like that's rough, but yeah. But overall, I liked it. I know you didn't, but hey.
I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's not a movie I would watch again, but honestly, there's not very many movies I watch multiple times unless they're like, they're just like Star Wars or Indiana Jones or Lord of the Rings or something like that. Yep. So. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So that's kind of it. Unless you have anything else on it.
No, this was fun.
Okay, all right. Well, to wrap up, I have our normal question for you, but instead of getting it from the app that we normally used, since it's just me and you, I thought I would ask, and we talked about Ferrari, I would ask some Formula One questions. So I want to know who your favorite Formula One driver is, your favorite Formula One team, and what your favorite Formula One track is. Like, what's the one you're like, yeah, let's go?
Favorite track is... I'm going to give multiple answers for everyone. My favorite track is probably Silverstone.
Okay.
Spa as a close second.
Okay.
Silverstone gets the edge because it's both fun to drive. So when I am in a driving simulator, it's fun to do that. Yep. But Silverstone delivers better races than Spa. Spa's races don't tend to be bangers.
Okay.
In terms of... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in tracks, I also enjoy Spa. Sometimes you get some bangers in there. Monza's usually good, but I think my all-time favorite track is Austin, Circuit of the America, because what they did when they designed this track is it's like a Frankenstein track.
It is.
They took a bunch of the best pieces of a bunch of different tracks and put it together. So like all the drivers love this track. Everyone just goes full hammer down, and it is always a fun race to watch. And like you in driving simulators and stuff like that, it is a fun track to drive.
Yeah. I forgot that. They basically just like said, okay, we like Maggots and Beckett's from Silverstone. Let's have the RSs. Let's do the long straights. Let's do. I forget what else they stole from, but yeah, I forgot that's
the whole track is literally just Frankenstein together, and it's amazing.
I like it. Okay, favorite driver. I mean, my favorite driver is Lewis Hamilton. I think beyond him, I think we go to like the younger drivers. I really like Oscar Piastri.
Yeah. Okay.
I like his attitude. I like his chill nature.
He's so calm.
He is like, I love him, and he's incredibly good. Like he's awesome. So
he's going to be a future world champion without a doubt, future world champion.
Seems that
as
way.
long as he doesn't go to a wrong team or gets in a team that just completely ends up destroying it, he will absolutely be a future world champion.
Yeah, for sure.
I would also say Lewis Hamilton. I like Oscar. Oscar's great. Yuki is the most entertaining. Hands down, the most entertaining. But I'm also gonna pour one out for our pal Daniel Ricciardo, which he just lost his seat this week, which I think was a really messed up move on their behalf for somebody that has been in Formula One as long.
Yeah.
And Red Bull kind of owes him kind of thing. Like they should have let him finish out. There's six races left or something like that in the season. Like they should have just let him finish out the season, gave him a proper ceremonial send off.
He should have known, and the fans should have known when his last race was happening, when it was happening. They could have said, okay, look, you're not delivering results. Singapore is your last race. Or they could have said, okay, we've made the decision after Singapore, you'll go to Austin where you love to go. You rode in on a horse a year or two ago. Like, then that's going to be your last race. And like at the end, you can do donuts, and like the other drivers can like do things with you and stuff. Like Daniel Ricciardo is not just an average F1 driver. He is the face of the sport for a lot of people. He's the reason that Drive to Survive really took off in the way that it did and revitalized kind of the sport, especially in the US. And like, I have always had issues with Red Bull. And this did not ingratiate them to me at all. Like I think they really did him wrong.
And the current scuttlebutt is that his replacement, Liam Lawson, which always freaks me out whenever he's on the side because it says LAW, which is how you spell the start of my last name. So I'm like, wait, am I racing?
Is it finally me?
Is it me? Did they pick me? But no. So they told him 2 weeks ago that he was going to be in the car. They didn't tell Daniel. They kind of were like hinting around Daniel Ricciardo that this could be it.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't tell him officially until Sunday night after the race. And I was just like, you know what? Like, that's so messed up. Let him go out with a bang. Like, he has won races for Red Bull. He was the face of Red Bull for a while before Max. Like, they did him dirty. They did him dirty.
And McLaren did this to him too, right? Like he was unceremoniously ushered out of McLaren in a similar way. Like
and he was the first person to win a race for McLaren in almost a decade. Yeah. It was a long time. It was such a like.
Yeah,
he's got the short end of the stick a few times, and I genuinely feel bad for him because he is. Honestly, seems like one of the nicest people on the grid. Always has a smile, always has a joke. He like if there is somebody on the grid that I would want to go have a beer with, it would be him or Lewis. Like, and only because apparently Lewis always picks up the check. So
there you go.
I'm just kidding. No,
he actually
seems like
Daniel would as well.
Yeah, but no, Lewis actually is a genuinely nice person. But and last question is, who's your favorite team? I think we can both safely say Red Bull and RB, Visa, Cash App, whatever the hell they're called now, is not it.
Not it. No.
Not it.
Yeah. I am more drawn to drivers than teams.
Same.
So I think it fluctuates. I do like Ferrari. Just because it's classic to like Ferrari.
You can't not like Ferrari and be a Formula One fan. Even if you
it's
don't
tough.
like Ferrari, you still like Ferrari because they're so core to Formula One.
Mm-hmm. I think the other team, I also really like the underdogs. So I really like Williams. And I want Williams to do well.
Franco Colapinto is killing it right now.
He's doing great.
I have a classic Williams racing hat. For their, I don't remember, it was like their 500th Grand Prix or whatever it was. They put out retro hats and shirts and stuff like that, and I bought a retro hat. I love that hat so much.
Yeah, so Williams is probably my midfield to bottom field team, or backmarker team that I support.
I really like Williams as the midfield to back market team. I'm always excited whenever they do well. I like McLaren because I like Lando and Oscar. I don't like Zach Brown. There's something about Zach Brown that just I don't want to get into it on the show, but there's something about him that I just But Mercedes is the other one. But now that Lewis is leaving, and I'm not the biggest George Russell fan, he comes off a little whiny. Do you think that's fair to say?
That's how he comes across. I don't know if that's him or if it's unfair, but that is how he comes across sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels. But yeah, I love it whenever Williams does well. I absolutely love that because other than Ferrari, they're probably the other classic team on the grid because Frank Williams, the founder of the team, was a Formula One driver. Then he went off and formed his own team and stuff like that. So they're very core to Formula One and stuff like that. And I kind of like that. But all right, let's wrap up the show. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. If you didn't know, there's a video version of this over on the Max Stories YouTube channel. A big thank you to Max Stories because we are a Max Stories podcast after all. Neeleon will be back next week, so no more Formula One talk. I promise. This is the only time we're going to subject you to it. Well, until Neeleon's gone again. But Matt, tell everyone bye. Are you up to anything? You want to share any work or anything with anyone?
No, nothing special. Check me out on YouTube, A Better Computer, and just having fun over there, posting videos.
Nice. You can find me on YouTube, Christopher Lawley, Lawley. I have a few iPhone videos and some iPad stuff coming out, so be sure to check it out. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.